One man bought a burned castle in the middle of nowhere, and what happened next broke him down before building him back up. Dan Preston walked through broken gates in 2022 and saw something that changed his life forever. Chateau de Sermizelles stood in ruins in the quiet countryside of central France. The walls were black from fire damage. The ceilings had fallen through. There was no roof. Pigeons lived in what used to be the grand hall. Most people would look at this disaster and walk away, but Dan saw possibility. He saw a future. He saw an escape from the life he was living. What he didn't see coming was how much this dream would cost him. Not just money, but pieces of himself he didn't even know he could lose. Before we go deeper into what happened, you need to understand what this place really was. This wasn't just some old building. During World War II, Jewish children hid inside these walls while Nazi soldiers searched for them. The castle kept them safe. It gave them shelter when the whole world was trying to kill them. Those children ate in these rooms. They slept in these spaces. They whispered prayers and hoped for tomorrow. Decades later, in the 1980s, fire destroyed everything. The castle burned and nobody came to save it. For years, it just sat there rotting. Nature moved in. Animals made homes in the ruins. The past became forgotten until Dan showed up. When Dan first posted videos of the castle, nobody expected what would happen next. The early footage was rough. His camera shook in his hands. Tools clanged and clattered in the background. Wind drowned out his voice sometimes. You could see him dragging heavy debris, lifting stones, clearing rubble pile by pile. He laughed even when he was exhausted. There was no camera crew, no script, no fancy editing. Just a man standing in the middle of destruction trying to figure out where to start. And people loved it. Viewers found something real in those videos. They saw honest effort. They saw someone actually doing the work instead of just talking about dreams. The channel started growing. People from around the world tuned in to watch this stranger rebuild a castle brick by brick. But here's what most people don't see in those videos. Behind every smile and every completed project, there's weight. Dan lifts stones that carry history. Every beam he replaces held up ceilings where scared children once looked up and prayed. When he clears ash from the floors, he's touching the remains of a fire that destroyed someone's safe place. The laughter of those children who hid here still echoes somehow in the empty rooms. You can feel it in the way Dan moves through the space. There's respect in how he works. This isn't just construction, it's honoring memory. That adds pressure most people can't imagine. He's not just fixing a building. He's protecting a story that deserves to be remembered. Living alone in rural France sounds romantic until you actually do it. Dan has mentioned the silence. Not peaceful quiet, but the kind of silence that feels heavy. The kind that makes you face every doubt you've been running from. Imagine being surrounded by half-finished rooms with no one to talk to. Old wood creaks at night. The wind moves through empty windows. You're alone with your thoughts and your fears. There's nowhere to hide from yourself out there. In those moments, Dan probably asks himself hard questions. Why did he start this? What's he trying to prove? Is it about showing the world he can do something incredible? Or is it something deeper? Maybe he's just trying to create order where there's chaos. Maybe he's trying to save something that time wanted to erase. The castle becomes a mirror showing him both his strength and his weakness. You can see the exhaustion sometimes if you watch closely. There are moments where Dan pauses mid-sentence and just stares at the ruins. His eyes look tired. You can almost see him calculating the impossible distance between his dream and reality. How does one person rebuild something so massive and so broken? How many years will it take? How much money? How much hope can one person hold before it runs out? These questions don't have easy answers, but every morning he wakes up and goes back to work anyway. People love his channel for more than just the construction. They love the life around it. The cold mornings when his breath fogs in the air. The sound of rain hitting unfinished rafters. Local friends who stop by with tools and stay to help. Coffee shared while sitting on piles of old bricks. It's a picture of French rural life lived by someone who gave up comfort to find meaning. But that beautiful picture has shadows people don't always see. Money is a constant battle. Restoration work costs thousands for every small section. Materials are expensive. Professional help costs even more. Dan relies on YouTube money, Patreon donations, and viewer support. That creates pressure most people don't think about. Every video has to perform well or the money stops coming. He has to turn progress into content constantly or risk losing everything. Does that change how the dream unfolds? Does needing footage affect which projects he chooses first? It's impossible to know, but the pressure is always there. Dan doesn't seem bitter about it, though. He appears guided by a simple belief that showing up matters. Doing the work matters, not just for himself, but for everyone watching. His videos have inspired thousands of people. They inspire viewers to take risks, to fix their own homes, to move somewhere new, to search for something more honest and real than corporate jobs and city life. If darkness exists in his story, it's in the price of ambition. We see cleaned bricks and restored towers. We see before and after photos. We don't always see the exhaustion. We don't see the isolation. We don't see the moments when optimism runs dry and doubt floods in. Rural France is beautiful but lonely, especially for outsiders rebuilding ruins with no community ties yet. Then there's the history that haunts this place. In one interview, a survivor who actually lived in the castle during the war watched Dan's videos. She cried. She said it was their home. They were safe there. Knowing that his work brings back someone's memory of survival adds weight you can't measure. It's almost sacred responsibility now. The past breathes through cracked walls. Every repair he makes brings those memories closer to life again. That's beautiful and heavy at the same time. It's easy to romanticize someone chasing a dream. But behind romance is harsh math. Time plus money plus endurance. Dan faces calculations every single day. Which repair can wait? Which one can't? The castle doesn't care about YouTube algorithms or upload schedules. It just demands what it needs. One brick at a time, one beam at a time, one day at a time. There's also tension between creator and audience. People want to see progress, new walls, fresh paint, visible transformation. But real restoration moves slowly, painfully slowly sometimes. Weeks pass doing invisible work. Strengthening foundations, clearing debris, treating wood for rot. None of that looks impressive on camera, but it's essential. The algorithm wants novelty and excitement. Reality gives slow, steady, unsexy work. How does someone stay authentic in a system that rewards speed and spectacle? Online communities watch Dan's every move. Reddit threads dissect his journey. Some users remember when Dan worked as a gardener at another chateau called Chateau de Sermizelles. They watched him transition from employee to independent creator. They admire his courage. Others worry. They question whether the finances make sense. They wonder about the personal toll. Could anyone really sustain this alone? The debates mix genuine support with gentle skepticism. But even critics show underlying respect. People stay invested because they sense Dan's story isn't fake. It's raw and imperfect and real. That's exactly why it works. Despite every obstacle, his persistence moves people. In one video, he stands in the half-rebuilt space and smiles. He says it's starting to feel alive again. You hear emotion crack his voice. That fragile hope that all the effort and strain might become something lasting. That moment captures everything. Dan's story mirrors the castle itself. Both battered, both burned, both refusing to disappear. His journey from gardener to restorer isn't about climbing some ladder. It's about reclamation, reclaiming purpose, reclaiming identity, reclaiming peace. The beauty of escape to rural France lives in the process. It's the rhythm of trying and failing and learning and trying again. It's resilience blooming in ruins. For viewers worldwide, these videos teach quiet lessons about endurance. They remind us that grand dreams start in dust. Solitude can grow something fertile. Meaning hides in the hardest work. But there's bitterness underneath too because viewers are complicit. We cheer for progress but rarely understand the cost. We romanticize rural escape but forget how hard rebuilding from scratch really is. Dan's openness forces us to look at our own lives, our own balance between comfort and courage. What would we actually risk for a dream that might fail? As of 2025, the castle stands taller than when Dan found it. Roof trusses hold the structure up. Walls stand stable. New life creeps back through the windows. An ocean of work remains, but somehow you believe he'll keep going. Because for Dan, this is how he makes sense of the world. What happens next, nobody knows. Not even Dan himself. The castle needs years more work. Patient labor that doesn't always make exciting videos. But Dan seems to have accepted that. The dream shifted. It's not about perfection anymore. It's about keeping the story alive. One repaired beam at a time. He's hinted at opening parts of the castle someday. Maybe for visitors. Maybe for workshops. But there's no rush. What matters now is momentum, not milestones. Whether the castle ever gets fully restored doesn't matter as much anymore. The journey itself already became a monument to resilience. Dan already built what he set out to find. Purpose. Maybe that's the quiet truth behind Escape to Rural France. It's about coming home. Not to a place, but to purpose. To a promise to keep going even when nobody else believes it's possible. What makes Dan's story stick with people isn't the castle. It's what the castle represents. It represents choosing hard meaning over easy comfort. It represents facing your limits and pushing past them. It represents saving something the world forgot about. Every person watching sees a piece of themselves in that struggle. We all have ruins we want to rebuild, broken pieces we want to fix, dreams we're too scared to chase. Dan does it on camera for the world to see. That takes courage most of us don't have. The castle will take decades to finish if it ever truly finishes at all. But that's not the point anymore. The point is that every morning, Dan wakes up and chooses to continue. Every video shows another small victory against impossible odds. Every brick placed is a refusal to give up. That consistency builds something stronger than stone walls. It builds proof that ordinary people can do extraordinary things if they just keep showing up. So when you watch Escape to Rural France, you're not just watching construction videos. You're watching someone fight for meaning in a world that often feels meaningless. You're watching history get honored. You're watching loneliness get transformed into purpose. You're watching one person prove that broken things can be beautiful again if someone cares enough to do the work. Dan Preston didn't just buy a ruined castle in France. He bought a chance to become someone new, someone stronger, someone who builds instead of just dreams. And maybe that's the real escape. Not from England to France, not from city to countryside, but from who you were to who you could become if you were brave enough to try. Hit subscribe if you believe broken things deserve to be saved.